The UK is the latest G7 nation and key ally of Canada to see a populist shift in voting. The results from local elections could leave the British Prime Minister on even shakier political ground. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage points to the vote as proof that his party is here to stay.
It can't continue to be a fluke or a protest vote. I would honestly say you're witnessing an historic shift in British politics.
Farage is an enthusiastic supporter of U.S. President Donald Trump, and like Trump, he has promised to carry out mass deportations. Farage was also a key player in the Brexit referendum that pulled the UK out of the European Union. Crystal Gomansing is with us from London. Crystal, you're in the central London there. I can see the buses behind you. How big a shift is this in these local elections?
It is a pretty big shift in these, as you said, local elections, but it is seen as a test, a midterm test for what is going to happen to the governing Labour Party. And just to give you an indication, results are very much early stages. We are still waiting for more than half of the results from councils across England. But at this moment in time, Reform has more council seats. Next would be the Liberal Democrats, then the Conservatives, then Labour. That is a huge political shift, and it does suggest that for the local councils, there could be more of a need to collaborate, to work together, to form coalitions, rather than just, Labour councillors running those councils and having a sort of a sweep across the board. And this change is something that people were anticipating going into the election on Thursday. We did hear from Tony Travers. He's a professor at the London School of Economics, and he said that while coalitions are very different for the United Kingdom, it is a very European thing, and that could be our future.
What we're going to find out is what happens in a multi-party system with the need to create government arrangements or coalition arrangements in some cases after voting day. Very common in continental Europe, absolutely not common in most Westminster systems, and certainly not in the UK. So that's going to be a big test, and it's to some extent going to tell us, I think, something about how British national politics turns out after the next general election.
So national politics different than local politics, but here political affiliation does matter. And what we're seeing so far is that the Labour Party is in trouble, Susan.
Crystal, Nigel Farage is not a stranger to politics. I mean, he only became an MP in the British Parliament in 2024, but he's been a politician, sort of agitating from the sidelines for over 30 years. And this election is, seen as well as a referendum on the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. So have we heard from him?
Yeah, absolutely. We heard from Keir Starmer actually quite early on. He is not only a prime minister, but of course the leader of the Labour Party. And he was under so much pressure because he has become more and more unpopular since he won a sweeping majority in the general election in 2024. However, what he said this morning was that this is bad for the Labour Party, that they have lost a lot of good councillors, but he is refusing to step aside.
Let me be clear, these are really tough results. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And the voters have sent a message about the pace of change, how they want their lives improved. I was elected to meet those challenges, and I'm not going to walk away from those challenges and plunge the country into chaos.
Well, his party and his future might be the thing that's actually in chaos after today. Of course, we still have more councils to report their results from, as well as the results from the government elections in the devolved governments of Wales as well as Scotland. And there could be more losses there. In fact, those losses are anticipated, particularly in Wales, Susan.
Crystal, if I can just ask you for a second, when is the general election? How long does Keir Starmer have before he faces the voters?
Yeah, he's got a couple of years, but it is unclear if, in fact, he would even be able to stay on as the party leader. The mandate was for 5 years, so he has some time. But even going into this election, he was under so much pressure. There were a lot of calls for him to step aside. We haven't necessarily heard from any front bench members of the Labour Party calling for him to step down right now. But it is early and is only, just getting into the afternoon here. So it might be a very busy weekend for Labour Party cabinet members as they try to determine what their future will be and if, in fact, they still stand behind the current leader and Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
Thanks, Crystal.